Well, the day has come. It's time for me to sample my rogue Apache plant. Hello, it's Denise. Welcome to Up the Potting Shed. My apologies, we've had a gap of a couple of weeks, maybe a little more, since I released a video. I've just been busy. Sometimes life exists beyond YouTube. It's time to consolidate and clean up. You know, this is one of my Apaches and it's finished. And it's given all it's going to give. I'm not going to overwinter this one. So I'm not watering the plant anymore. I'm letting it finish off, ripening all these lovely chilies. So over the next couple of days, I'll be pulling off all of the chilies, green or red, and I'll be composting the plant. Move him to one side a little. This is one of my little bonchais that I created on video. You can see it's you can see this is a jalapeno. I kind of decided I wasn't going to overwinter this plant, but it seems a shame not to. 3 of my little bonsais are already installed in the house, and as I mentioned in a previous video, experience has shown me that if you want to overwinter a pepper or a chili plant, it's best to take them in before they start to get knocked by the weather. You don't want, it's almost like you want to get them safely inside before they even realise the weather has changed, and that way, in my experience, they'll carry on growing on nicely. It's almost like you want to sort of take them inside before they get knocked by the weather, before they even realise the weather has changed. And experience tells me they'll carry on growing as if summer has continued that way. Whereas if you leave them as this one has been left to start to feel autumn, the plant seems to start to shut down. Well, that's certainly my experience, but this is a nice little plant. And I would like to grow some more jalapenos next year, so I think I'll take this in and give it a go. So that'll go into my south facing conservatory, which does have a radiator. It gets a little bit of heat in the day and in the evening. It's not as warm as the main part of the house, but it's enough just to keep them alive, and they get plenty of winter sunshine. Now, this is my mutant Apache, and if you watched a previous video, you'll know that both of these plants were grown from seed out of the same pod, but you can see that they're very different. I'm going to remove that pod and we'll take a closer look at it. Ooh. So this is from saved Apache seed, and Apache is an F1. It's a hybrid. A hybrid plant does not create a stable seed, because it's a hybrid, is a cross. I've been saving my Apache seeds year on year now for probably 3 seasons. I've been growing Apache for a number of years, but for the last maybe 3 years, I've only grown Apache from seeds from the previous year. So each time an F1 has a child, you move on the number. So the first child of an F1 becomes an F2, an F3, and then its child an F3, and so on. I think that's correct. I'm not an expert. And I'm not sure about the pod, that the seed that grew these came out of. I'm not sure whether it was first generation from an F1, or maybe it was a child of an F2, or maybe even an F3. But the reality is, neither of these are particularly good examples of an Apache. That looks a little bit more like a mini Cayenne than an Apache. And this looks like something else completely. And I worried because my patches in previous years have grown alongside super hots. My Apache last year grew alongside a Carolina Reaper on one side of it, a Cayenne on the other, and two plants along a ghost pepper. So if this had crossed, so if my Apache had crossed, there was a good chance it had crossed with a super hot. And that's quite interesting in itself, because here we have, remember, these have grown from seeds from the seeds that grew this plant and this plant came from exactly the same pod. And it's that pod that could have been crossed. I'm not an expert, but here's my understanding. Each little bit of pollen that is pollinated is responsible for creating one of the seeds in the pod. Imagine the scenario. You get the flower, and let's imagine there's a hoverfly. That hoverfly goes and grabs some pollen from a cayenne flower, and next it jumps onto the ghost pepper and gets a bit of pollen, and then it goes on to the Carolina Reaper and it gets a bit of pollen, and next it comes back to the Apache and pollinates the Apache. That Apache then grows a pod. The child that Apache grows that season will look exactly the same as its parent plant. However, the seed inside has a relationship with the pollen that created it, just as we have a relationship with our mother and our father. Think of the father as the pollinator. That's what's happening. That's my rough, that's basically what's happening. So I can show you an Apache that grew from a seed from the same seed pod as these, and it looks completely different. That's why it's not recommended to grow seeds from an F1. But here's the thing, and I've got to do this, haven't I? Let's have a taste. So this is my Apache that looks a little bit like a Cayenne. So this is the one that resembles a hot pepper. It's no good taking a nibble from the bottom. There's very rarely any heat. That's not ghost pepper hot. That's not Carolina Reaper hot. It's hotter than this. It's hotter than this one. They both taste pretty Apache-like. That is a degree hotter. I'm not chomping the whole pod, and I have to admit I've tried them previously. I have to admit that's not the first time I've tried them. I very tentatively picked one of these and popped it into some cooking. So I used two of these. I used one and it gave me more heat than I'd expect from using one Apache. Quite a bit more heat, but not super hot heat. One of those probably equals two of those, if that makes sense. I did say I'd do that, so there you go. Take care, enjoy your gardens, be happy. Till next time, bye bye.